Next item on the agenda is old business. First item we have is Progress Park Estoppel statement. Mr. Byrne.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I'm pleased to introduce that we have with us tonight Kate Franco with Fluidstack. Fluidstack has just within the last couple of weeks purchased the Solis ARCS data center project, and already they are here to represent and present before you in the process. So I would like to introduce Ms. Kate Franco.
Ms. Franco.
Chairman, board members, thank you so much for having me tonight, and concerned citizens. I'd like to take a few minutes to explain what a data center actually is, and then go through the reasons that this development I think will be very beneficial for Wythe County. First and foremost, a data center is the physical home of the internet. The only part of an internet connection that actually goes through the air, despite us all calling it the cloud, is the Wi-Fi connection from our devices, like our phones or our laptops, to a router in the building or structure that we're in. So when we use our phones for maps or search or any sort of query on an app, or we use our laptops for email or any number of different things, the queries that we're sending do travel through the air very briefly from our devices to our routers. After that, from the router on, that internet connection and the data processing physically travels through high-speed wires all over the world to a data center and back to our devices, all in fractions of a second. So data centers, while they may be new for Wythe County.
If y'all need to have a conversation, we can take it outside. Don't interrupt the lady while she's speaking. Thank you.
So while data centers are new to Wythe County, they're not new in the rest of the world. Data centers as a hyperscale industry have been around for about 20 years, just over that. But data centers have existed in one form or another since we have had broad internet access. So more than 30 years now, very easily. The first hyperscale data center, which is really just a very large data center instead of lots of small ones, opened in Oregon in 2007 or so. It was a Google data center. And I know that because I am with Fluidstack now and with this development at Solis ARCS at Progress Park, but I spent the past 6 years supporting Google's data center development on the Google side of the industry. They are new to people here, like I said, but I would love to explain why they are beneficial, how we use water and energy, how we develop commitments to each community, how we work with each community, and how we intend to operate here. All of this will be documented and contracted with you and through permits with various regulatory agencies and local organizations to ensure total compliance as we move forward. As Stephen mentioned, we just closed on the land in the past week or two, and so we are new to this area, but I'm glad to be here tonight presenting the program and the project. So first and foremost, we are in an industrial park, and data centers are considered generally light industry or light industrial designations. We did hear earlier that there were concerns about chemical usages and preferences for a heavier industry in an industrial park. The reality is, though, data centers do not store or use large-scale industrial-level chemicals, so there is no risk of pollution of the land, the air, or the water resulting from a data center. Additionally, I'm just going through several points now, we have not and will not ask anyone here to sign a non-disclosure agreement. There's no need for an NDA. We're very happy to be completely transparent about our plans and our progress towards our contractual commitments to develop this site. On the water usage, I understand completely that water usage is a concern with much of the country in various levels of drought. A closed loop system genuinely does use less water than a traditional evaporative cooling method. Data centers many years ago often used evaporative cooling pretty exclusively use evaporative cooling because it's highly efficient. Water can absorb a lot of heat from the servers that are in these data centers. And then we cool it down and it evaporates, and then we can circulate water again. A closed loop is completely different. Tanks are filled up once and then the average daily usage becomes approximately equal to that of 7 or so average homes. So if we were to take this plot of land and build a private road and build a tiny development on it with 7 or so houses, that would be the same amount of water that we're going to use on an annual basis. The huge majority of that water goes to domestic purposes. We will have employees at these data centers, so we need things like bathrooms and kitchens. That's the majority of the operational use. On the energy front, it is true that in many parts of the country, power costs are rising for communities. But it is also true that in many parts of the country, our energy grid has not been kept up to date for several decades. The way energy pricing generally works at a very high level is that a utility company has to maintain their wires in their service. They have substations, they have transmission lines, they have a lot of infrastructure that they have to maintain. When they need to do an upgrade, the energy company itself pays for that upgrade. And then at the end of the construction and development, they add up the total cost and distribute it to pay themselves back to the residential users. So in most communities, residents themselves and customers of the utility are the ones paying for the upgrade to the utility that services their homes. That's the way most of the US electrical grid works. When a data center comes to town, though, a data center needs those upgrades as a single user. It's actually the same upgrades that everybody else needs also. But a data center needs it prospectively and for themselves right away. So what they do is they pay for those upgrades, meaning that the utility does not have to distribute costs to other residential users. This is why communities with data centers actually have more stable and often lower energy rates than communities without. The data center pays for the energy and upgrades that the data center needs. These costs do not get shared to residential users. Any infrastructure that the data center needs, the data center is required to pay for. So the data center pays for its energy needs, it pays for the energy infrastructure it needs, it pays for the water infrastructure it needs, it pays for the wastewater infrastructure it needs. If it's using that, it pays for the roads that it will be using for any sort of expansions or changes or repairs, and any other infrastructure that I'm not naming right now that the data center needs is the obligation of the data center to pay. And that's exactly how Fluidstack will operate in this community. We also hear a lot, and tonight, about a low number of jobs at a data center. Most of the industry, when they're seeking permits and approvals with a local municipality, just like yourselves, will commit to whatever number of jobs they're legally required to commit to on paper. So sometimes to build a new facility in a given community, that community's regulations might require that that company commit to, say, 30 jobs or 50 jobs, or sometimes 0 jobs. In that case, the data center itself will commit to exactly that number, which is what has led to the public perception that there are a very low number of jobs at these facilities. But the reality is that is just a mechanism to ensure that we can develop our data centers, can develop over time as they need to. Because unlike a traditional manufacturing facility, data centers are very complex long-term projects, and we will not be moving in thousands of workers overnight with their families. So the jobs will not materialize all in one night, or one season, or even one year. The jobs materialize as the buildings are finished and the campus is built out. And the reality of any data center campus is that it takes hundreds to thousands of people to operate those facilities. At this campus for Solis Arcs, we anticipate 200 to 500 or so employees on that campus on a daily basis. And we fully recognize and want to hire from the local communities. I truly think data centers are a phenomenal investment for communities all across America because the jobs cut across the entire skill set spectrum. Oftentimes, though certainly not every time, people with 4-year degrees or military officer experience will become the site leads and the site managers. Often, but certainly not always, people with 2-year degrees will become technicians. We need HVAC technicians, electricians, cable layers, server ops technicians, general facilities technicians, and skill sets along those lines. Many, many, many community colleges across the country have training programs and degree programs in all of those areas. And when they don't, we work with them to create them. Finally, there are a lot of job opportunities, dozens to hundreds, for people with no degree at all. Every data center campus needs security, food service, janitorial, maintenance, even yard care, things like that. So the opportunities at a data center are for everyone. And it is to everyone's advantage at the data center company to hire from the local area. And we fully intend to do that to the extent possible. There is a noise statute here. We would obviously fall within that noise statute. This goes back to the compliance issue that was raised earlier. We fully intend to abide by all laws, and we expect audits, contracts, permits, and everything else to ensure that compliance. I mentioned that there are no risks of chemical leaks. There are no higher cancer rates in data center communities. I have worked at many data center campuses where there are daycares bordering the property. Those kids are completely fine. Those have been operating for decades. There's no higher cancer rates, like I said, and we're already in an industrial area here, so we don't anticipate residential neighbors anyway. It was also raised, though, that this site was designated as acceptable or suitable for a data center more than 10 years ago. And while it is absolutely true that data centers from 2014 are radically different than data centers in 2026, I will actually offer that the 2026 version of data center is a lot better than the 2014 version. We increase efficiencies in water usage, energy usage, land usage, and our ability to create compute power for smaller units of energy every year. The industry is constantly creating efficiencies because they need to save money too. Running these things is very expensive. Building them is extremely expensive. It is in the industry's interest to create efficiencies wherever they can and continue iterating and improving the equipment and the campus developments to ensure that they can spend as little as possible and contain their own costs. Finally, it was also raised that a company doesn't have any allegiance to locals if they're not from here. I would actually offer the opposite. As a company that's coming in, Fluidstack fully intends to work with all of you and local people to both source employees and to ensure that we are a productive and a contributing member of the community. We want to work with all of you to create community benefits agreements. We want to support your schools, your nonprofits, and the people of this area to ensure that we are a positive and productive member. As I mentioned, we will be hiring from the local area, so we absolutely want those people to feel proud of their work and proud to go to work every day. So we really look forward to working with all of you. I'm happy to answer any questions, but I also would like to conclude by requesting a review and approval of the Estoppel agreement. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Does anyone have any questions for him?
This will not be the only opportunity to engage as well. I wanted to be sure to come tonight to introduce myself and the company, but we look forward to working with you on a very regular basis as we progress the development.
All right, thank you.
I have a few comments. So you see a representative of the county.
Yes.
And that's a lot of people are upset about the transparency.
Yep.
So if we can start getting answers to a lot of their questions in a web-based platform.
Yes.
And other types of,
Absolutely.
And more engagement here as well, it would be greatly beneficial.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you mentioned that. We do intend to create websites for every project. As I mentioned, we only closed on land a week or two ago, so I haven't had time yet, but we do fully intend to put a website out there with all of the project stats and the development as we go along. So absolutely, and we will definitely be back in person as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Is there another location that you have a data center?
Sorry.
Another location, like, do you?
Fluidstack?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yes, we're developing campuses all over the country.
Locally, like anywhere around here? Do you know?
Wythe County is the only one that I'm focusing on right now in Virginia.
Is there any in neighboring states?
They're all over the country, like I said, so there's a lot underway.
Any other questions? All right.
Great. Thank you all very much. I appreciate your time tonight.
Mr. Chairman, I would ask for your all's approval of this estoppel statement. As we have previously discussed, this just basically indicates that the project as it is now, Scott Farthing, jump in and correct me here, basically is in compliance with the covenants that are in place.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the Estoppel statement.
Thank you.
All right, here, none.
Not at this time.
Mr. Chairman, the estoppel statement is simply an administrative function. It's a common thing companies ask for in developing projects or potentially transferring projects from principals to a different principal. Essentially saying we're in compliance with existing laws or covenants. This letter specifically is with county saying this lot 35, or whatever lot number it is in compliance with Progress Park covenants. And that is the extent of the letter. And that's what it says. As of today, the county staff, and I agree with their assessment, is that this project is in compliance with the Progress Park covenants. And that's what the letter's asking to have happen here tonight.
Does that generate a motion?
Would we be able, I know it's in our board package, but Mr. Bear, could we go through our covenants bit by bit? Would that be possible?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
And explain so that the people, our residents here would have a clearer understanding?
Hey, absolutely. Whatever y'all like.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start on, well, basically, it is in the board package. The first part of it talks about the statement of purpose for the industrial park, and talks about the uses of what is there, and what's there. It is basically meant to keep it for industrial, and the purposes are there. I won't read through all of the definitions that go with it, but it gets into the permitted uses and the prohibited uses. The prohibited uses, just briefly, I hit them: private dwellings, mobile homes, mining, extraction, processing, and removal of sand, gravel, and stripping of topsoil, except for those that are in a development that has received site plan approval from the Board of Supervisors. Used auto sales and service, churches and other worship facilities, prisons and other facilities used in incarceration or rehabilitation, schools and teaching facilities except for adult learning programs, nonprofit agencies or institutions lacking a direct relationship with the overall purpose of generally permitted uses of the park, and uses inconsistent with the goals of the park as determined by the Board of Supervisors. And then it gets into development standards, and this is where it first talks about a site plan requirement. And the company is required to submit a site plan to the county. And I'll go through the things, but generally what we have received in the past is a letter from the company that indicates we are locating here. It has, and then it has that it indicates what they're doing, what they're gonna be located here, and what's going. And then they address the items that I'll go through here in a minute, and it'll have a page that addresses their site plan, and it'll show this is the parking lots and the covenants require paid parking and things like that. They'll show their parking areas. It shows lighting plan. It shows what the lighting requirements are supposed to be, what their spillover is. It addresses the building construction material, all of those items. And they submit that site plan into the county, addressing each of those things, and the board has an opportunity to review it. If any of y'all have ever been in the JIDA office, in their conference room, above their window, across all the length of their windows, is actually the picture that they brought in of the Gatorade building when Blue Ridge SVC Manufacturing first came to Wythe County. They brought that in and showed here's what it looks like. That's an example of it. So in the site plan requirement, they have several things. Number one, they have to show what the materials of the building are, and the exterior construction of the front side of the building having specific requirements to go with it. They have to identify and show any accessory structures that are on the property and any equipment that's on the property. Transformers or similar above-ground equipment shall be screened to soften the lines. Dumpsters, recycling equipment, compactors, balers, other waste shall be located in the rear of the building whenever possible, be screened, not to be visible. It has things on the roof surfaces, been consistent of design and material. It has a section on fencing, not allowed without written approval of the Wythe County Board of Supervisors. Outdoor storage areas should be screened and located not visible from adjoining public parcels. And then it talks about they're responsible for maintaining and upkeep of the area. The regulations of improvements, setbacks are in compliance with the subdivision ordinance of Wythe County. That's 35 feet on the front, and I believe it's 10 or 15 feet on the side. I believe it's 10 feet on the side. Utilities, that are there shall be installed under the ground with the exception of overhead lines along interior lines within Wythe County. The gas storage tanks and transformers shall be placed above ground, required to be placed above ground, shall be screened to the extent possible. It talks about grading, being in compliance with the erosion sediment control plan. Parking standards, talks about having the parking that is needed for the site. If the site's running 3 shifts, then you've got to have adequate parking to have, for the shifts that's there. So if you've got 200 people working for you, you've got to have 400 parking spots minimum, because when one shift comes in, the other shift is still there, things like that. They show, they have that. They have the required parking area. The design standards, the location, the paving or other equivalent materials shall be there. Curb and gutter, if required, for stormwater, adjacent to the state right-of-way shall be concrete in accordance with VDOT standards. Landscaping plan, just showing that, how they're landscaping, how they're screening the things, what's going in there. I can still remember the Somic America now, it was WTI at that time when they came in. The type of cherry tree they were planting out front was a special tree that they wanted to have along the front of that, and that was indicated in their plans. Any off-street loading areas, sign standards. If they are putting up a sign advertising their company and name, this signage plan is in effect, it's been for all of the industries in the park. Do they have a permanent sign? If so, where is it going? The business signs, maximum size on that is 200 square feet. If they're putting the sign on the side of their building, the restrictions of that of 100 square feet. And it discusses monument signs, informational signs, and all of that in the process. And then maintenance. Landscaping standards talks about what they need to put for their screening and all of that. Using native species to Wythe County is encouraged, and diversity of species is being encouraged, and have a maintenance plan to address that in the process. Exterior lighting, that's a concern that a lot of people have. Just in general, of any entry coming in there, all lighting systems shall be designed. They have to submit the plan that shows the foot candles and the light spillover on adjacent property. The lighting systems to be achieved to maintain horizontal illumination level at the ground surface of 1 to 2 foot candles with luminary space to achieve a uniformity ratio of 6 to 1 within the lighted area, and building and sign illumination of what is needed there. Noise, Ms. Franco mentioned that in the process. The ordinance discusses that basically what it states here is particular emphasis shall be given to preventing noise generated by normal commercial industrial operations from being clearly audible beyond the boundaries of the parcel on which the operations are conducted, 65 decibels at 500 feet. And then the next goes into environmental protections, occupants, meeting all applicable local, state, federal laws, ordinances, regulations, and policies. Amenities is just talking about green spaces. If we establish green space areas, it's common stormwater detention or other things, all the park covenants tenants would be required to pay a pro rata share of that. And then if there's any preservation areas designated on a recorded subdivision plat owned and maintained by the county, those remain in place. Then it gets into the right of refusal of conditions, and the part that the property park owner shall receive a bona fide offer to buy a property in the park. They have to address that. And then it talks about the amendments and the enforcement of it. It's with county and the designee reserve the right to enforce these covenants. And purchasers also have the right to enforce these covenants. So that is the Progress Park covenants. So the thing that they owe us now is a site plan. As I said, this company, Fluidstack, has just acquired the property from the previous developers that purchased this from us. This is still Solis Arts VA1 LLC project that is out there. So the only thing they owe us at this time is that site plan. And then the site plan needs to address all of these things. That comes into you all, and you all have to vote to approve their site plan. So therefore, this estoppel statement, and like Scott said, and I'll ask him to emphasize that, all this is saying is there anything right now that is not in compliance with the Declaration of Covenants? I have reviewed it, Scott has reviewed it, as we've discussed with you all. There is nothing here that they are not in compliance with. Now, if they don't submit a site plan to us, if their site plan does not show that they are addressing these items, then you say, no, you don't have a site plan. If you say, no, you don't have a site plan, then we don't issue a building permit for them to get started. A site plan is part of the approval process of what they need to do to get started. So that is where your control comes in for your Progress Park covenants. I would recommend go ahead and approving this. This is part of the transfer from the previous owners to Fluidstack for this property, to say that there is no violations of the covenants at this time.
Okay, after
Does that
the
help?
review, you have any additional questions, Mr. Burnett?
Is there any reason we wouldn't be able to table this and approve it when they bring us a site plan? Is there any, that they would need this first before the site plan?
Obviously, it's the pleasure of the board what you want to do. What risk does that bring you? And I don't know. This is an administrative function. It's an administrative task. Are you in compliance? It's an easy answer, yes or no. You're either following the rules or you're not. I'm not sure I understand a reason to table it. As of today, they're in compliance. What risk does that give you? I don't know. But it's obviously always your pleasure. You're the board. You guys make the decisions. You decide what you want to do.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else got any questions?
Nope.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the Progress Park Estoppel statement.
I'll make that motion.
All right, got a motion by Mr. Cook. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a second by Mr. Burnett. Does anybody have any questions or concern? Or if that, we'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Burnett?
Aye.
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 So approved.